Well, by this time tomorrow, Apple will have unveiled its lineup of iPods at a special event in San Francisco, where CEO Steve Jobs is expected to make an appearance. It would be his first appearance at a company media event in almost 11 months. Jobs, as you know, took a leave last January for medical reasons and returned to work in June after receiving a liver transplant. Well, joining us right now with his expectations for tomorrow's event is Gene Munster. He's an analyst at Piper Jaffray. Gene, good to have you back with us. As you know, there's a lot of things floating out there about what might happen at this event. What are you expecting, though? Let's start with the product side. What are you expecting when it comes to products?
Well, I think your preview basically summed it up. We think they're going to be new iPods with cameras. That's going to be the big news. And also a new version of iTunes, which I don't know if a lot of people are really going to care much about. The big wild card product, obviously, is a new tablet, which we're not expecting. So that kind of sums up what we're looking for. Essentially, this is a non-event. It's a non-event.
All right. So then what's the point of it? Is it because, from what I understand, you expect Steve Jobs to be there? Is it all about that?
I think so. Steve Jobs is really going to be the talk and the focus, and ultimately that's what investors want to see. Is this Steve Jobs going to show up? He's back at work. We know that he wants to be out there, so we think he will be present, which I think is going to be a big part of the story tomorrow.
That is going to be a big part of the story. It's interesting because, I mean, you and I were at the event back in June. It was a big event, as you know, for all the applications for Apple. And it was interesting because they were putting a lot of executives out there and really kind of letting them, it seemed like they were really developing them, cultivating them. But if Steve Jobs is back on the stage, what does that mean, bottom line?
Well, the bottom line is he's back at work, and ultimately he wants to be a bigger part of Apple going forward. He's obviously taken a step back, and I think you're going to see him reassert himself in the next few months.
All right. What does that mean in your view? Just does that mean more new products or what?
Well, it's probably going to be new products. The tablet's the big thing that he's involved with today. So ultimately, we think that you're going to see a more focus on that. But tomorrow, again, it's all about the iPod, and I think that Steve Jobs is going to be probably the talk of the show, and we'll look forward to that.
All right, absolutely. I think everybody will look forward to that. Investors in particular have been watching this. Let me ask you, though, if I may, Gene, a little bit on the product side. I mean, what's important that they announce when it comes to the product lineup? What do you think that they need? What do you think that they're missing at this point?
Well, the iPod really is an investable part of the story anymore. Investors really aren't focused on that going forward. And that's been declining. It declined 4% last quarter, and so that's really not part of the focus. So I think at the end of the day, tomorrow, again, is going to be more iPod focused, but what investors really want to get to the bottom is beyond the iPod, because it's not a growing business. Where's Apple going to be investing in the future? And we think mobile computing is probably the biggest part. If you look at the story over the next 6 months, where investors really are focused on is what's going to happen with the iPhone. Ultimately, is we think that we're close to an inflection point with the iPhone. They did 5 million units in the June quarter. We're expecting 7 million in September and 9 million. So we're getting to this breakout point. So I think if you're going to ask the big picture here, really what this is all about is it's more PR for Apple,
right,
which obviously is important. But at the end of the day, is we think we're getting close to this breakout period for this mobile computing. And I think that the big picture here is that there's a shift in terms of how Apple's products are, and in particular getting more miniaturized, and the shift from ultimately being a cell phone to a computer in your pocket. And the iPod really just doesn't address that. So I think that you're going to see more of this kind of tone towards mobile computing, which they may hint towards tomorrow.
Hey, in terms of Apple competitors, who do you think is going to be watching so closely tomorrow? Or the most closely, I should say.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be, I mean, RIM's going to be the big one focused on this. Nokia, obviously, just to try to see what they're doing with the mobile computing side. It won't be about the iPhone, but they've essentially won the MP3 market. So this is essentially a game that's over.
Just got a few seconds left here, Gene, and I do want to go back to really what you said tomorrow's event's going to be all about, and that is really bringing Steve Jobs back to the stage. I'm curious if you think, though, that Tim Cook should become Apple's CEO and Steve Jobs just take on the chairman's role here.
No, I think that ultimately Tim Cook he's definitely good enough to be the CEO, but he's not the guy, I guess, going forward. And I think that Steve Jobs is passionate about running Apple. I think that that's going to definitely come through. And some of the controversy, whether he's going to be there or not, and how much he's involved with this, I think is going to be put to rest tomorrow. We do believe Steve Jobs will be there and make a statement, basically, that he is very involved with this company.
Right, absolutely. And certainly 24 hours from now, we will know. Gene, thank you so much for finding time. I know you're headed to San Francisco, but thanks for taking some time out for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gene Munster, analyst over at Piper Jaffray.